welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be reacting to your rat cages again. So this is technically part 4 in my series where I react to your rat cages, but I am going to be using all of the submissions I had from last time. I'm not too sure when this video is going to be going up because I do want to kind of space out the two videos. So this is technically a part 2 to part 3, but it's part 4 if that makes sense. So I still have a lot of your rat cages in my emails. Hopefully you guys don't mind me taking a look at them and filming another one of these videos. You seem to enjoy them. I enjoy filming them, so hopefully you don't mind too much. And hopefully the cages you've sent me haven't changed too much in the time it's taken me to look at them and film them and react to them in a video. So some of you were confused about how to send your cages in or where to send your cages in, and the best place to look for this is either on Twitter or in your subscription box. There should be a post from me coming up to say that I want rat cages or mouse cages to react to. Please don't randomly email them in because they will get lost in my emails. I do get quite a lot of emails, most of them weird spam emails from random companies, but they will probably get lost in my emails if you just send them randomly. But if I know to look out for them, I will favourite them and keep them to react to in a video. But please make sure you look out for this in your subscription box, or you can head over to the community tab on my YouTube and there'll be a post of me there asking for rat cages or mouse cages. So yeah, I still have some cages left over from the last video which I'm really excited to take a look at. The feedback from the last reacting video is that I'm not firm enough or I'm not harsh enough when it comes to your cages, and I don't want to sit here and be mean and judgmental. That is not the purpose of this video. I want to try to help you, but if I'm not being firm enough, I apologise. But if I say a cage is a bit too small or it seems too small, then the cage is too small and you will have to upgrade. So I'm trying not to be too harsh to you guys in the video, but if I say a cage is too small, then most likely it is too small for your rats and you will have to buy a new one. But yeah, all of that aside, I'm sure most of your cages are perfectly suitable for your rats, so let's take a look at the first one. So the first cage was sent in by Vic and they have the Pet Planet corner cage, which is a corner version of the cage that I have, and I've never seen anyone using this before. I did see it on the website, so it's going to be really interesting to see how she's managed having a corner cage instead of just a square one. So the base is Perspex, which is 25 centimeters deep, which is really good, and then she usually uses Bedmax or Pure Flake Extra, but sometimes she'll do a month of cocoa soil in the base. That's really cool. I have considered doing that, but I just don't know how well it would fare with the rats, so I would love to try an entire base of soil in the future. She says she's torn whether to take out the middle shelf or not, and she has 3 does, Reuben Bumblebody, Nala Silky Coat and Coochie Copy. Their names are so unique, and they're all just over a year old. Oh, fun fact, they are also Hawthorne rats. When I first started researching into rats a year and a half ago, I came across your channel and even mentioned it to Toya. That's funny. And she was so excited knowing that I was getting some Hawthorne rats too. So if we take a look at the first picture, the first thing I immediately am drawn to is the Pokeball hammock you've got. That is so cute. I love that so much, and it's also a really nice shape. Rats really love those kind of hammocks, so I love that, but I also just love that you've done a completely soil base. That is going to be so good for them to dig in, and they've got plenty of herbs and stuff. I'm surprised they've not destroyed them already, but I really love you've done this with the base, and I'd love to do something like that in the future. And then you've also got a nice big tic-tac wheel, which is really good. I'm sure your girls really appreciate that, and I hope they use it because they are expensive, but this is a really good example of a really good size wheel. Other things I like in the bottom section of the cage is how many hanging toys and chew toys you've got. I really like these, and I think you also attached a plastic fishbowl, I think, with shredded paper inside for them to nest in, which is really good. I like that. The one good thing about most litter trays being corner shaped for rats is the fact that it does fit so perfectly into your cage, which is good. I know you were saying that you were thinking of getting a couple more rats in the future, and I think you could probably put 5 rats in here. I'm not too sure of the measurements, but you could probably put 5 rats in here if you wanted to. But if you did want to get the rectangle Pet Planet cage instead, you could do that, but I think you could fit 5 rats in here if you wanted to. But if you did want to give them more space, I think you could. The second section of the cage is also just as nice. You've got the cardboard shredded bedding on the base, which is nice, and I like the rope going all the way through the top. And then they've got a couple of nice hammocks, and I just like the kind of natural theme you've got kind of going on. I like the chew toy at the front with the pine cones. I think that's really cute, and the big, what is that, like seagrass bed thing hanging on the side. I think that's really cute too. One thing I just spotted, which I think you spoke about in the email, is the Tupperware box you've got between the two sections in the gap that goes from the top to the bottom. That's a really good idea to stop all of the bedding going through, and as you said in the emails, it's really good to keep your girls in the top section whilst you're cleaning the bottom section. So I've never seen anyone do that before, but I think that's a really good idea. So I know this is technically a reacting to my rat cages video. Maybe I'll do a reacting to free roam areas video in the future, because some people go above and beyond for their free roaming, and this is a really good example of that. You've built them so many cool cardboard boxes to explore and climb around, which is so cute. And I feel like you've even got a tunnel that goes across the top of your wardrobe, which is really cool. I would love to do something like that with my rats if I had permanent walls that I could damage and like nail things into. I'd love to make like a shelf system, but you've made something like this out of cardboard, which is so cool. I'm sure your girls really love this, and I really love it too. Moving around to the other side of the room, you've got one of those hanging toy storage things from IKEA. That is really cool, but behind that, I think you've got like a temporary wardrobe thing with storage, but also a place for your rats to play, which is so cool. And then they've got a cat tree and a ball pit. This is honestly one of the best free roam areas I've seen in a while. I think it's so good, and I'm sure your girls really appreciate it. So well done on giving them such an exciting free roam area. I love this, and I love your cage too. So the next cage is from Lillian, and she's not too sure about the name of the cage because it was originally meant for birds, and she has 3 rats, Applejack and Maxine and Oreo. So we're not too sure on the brand of the cage, and we're also not too sure on the measurements, but just taking a look at the last picture and the size of the rats compared to the cage, I am going to have to say this cage is unfortunately too small for your rats, especially having 3 females in there that are going to continue to grow. This is going to be too small for them, and it is already too small for them, so you really are going to have to go out and get them a bigger cage, unfortunately. I do really like all of the hammocks and the ropes you've made yourself. I think you've done such a good job making them, and they're really pretty. I like the theme you've got going on, and the exercise ball at the top is such a good way of giving your rats somewhere extra to sleep. The pink quill you've got on the bottom is going to be too small for your rats to use. I think it's even too small for any dwarf hamsters to use, so I will just take that out because it is taking up space of somewhere you could put something else. I would just take that out as soon as possible and put something else there instead. But as I said, this cage is unfortunately too small for rats to live in. Even 2 rats, this cage is going to be too small for them, so I really do urge you to have a look at some other rat cages. I'll link the video where I suggest you good cages to use in the description, but you are unfortunately going to have to get them a different cage. The next cage is from Fern, and she has 5 female rats called Twig, Maya, Sunday, Aristotle and Chamomile. I love the name Twig. I might have to steal that for the future. And she has a YouTube channel too. The thing that stands out the most to me about your cage is the wooden footstool you've got in the middle. That is a really good idea to give them something to climb on, and repurposing items that you wouldn't usually think to have in a rat cage is a really good idea to give them more things to explore and more things to climb on, so I think that's really great. The rest of your cage also looks great. You've got a storage box thing at the bottom with pieces of shredded cardboard for them to forage in, which is cool. I do spot a couple of foraging toys. You've got 2 foraging balls, and I also think I can see a foraging wheel, which is good. I really like the big dog rope you've got for them in the cage. That's going to be great for them to climb on. And the cardboard box on the shelf on the bottom level is also really cute. You've made that yourself and given them something to climb on, which I like that. The only thing I'd really suggest for your cage is there is a bit of a gap behind where the footstool is on the bottom. You could add something into this gap if you wanted to, like a hammock or another rope. That would be really good. Or you could also wrap a couple of dog ropes around the footstool itself, just to allow them to grip onto this a bit better, because it does look like it's quite a smooth, shiny surface. So you could also do that if you wanted to modify the footstool, but I like that you put that in the cage. The only thing I would say is be careful with the mesh baskets you've got attached to the side. My only concern with this is rats can be quite accident prone. Most things in the cage can pose some sort of minor risk, but I would be worried with this, with them jumping on this or trying to jump out of this. They might get their legs stuck in the mesh, especially if one of them on the right doesn't have any padding on the bottom. They could possibly get their legs stuck in this if they fall from the top or they try to jump out, so I would just be careful with those. Make sure they're not going to be at too much risk of getting their legs stuck. But apart from that, I do really like your cage. Next we have a cage from Emma who has 3 4-month-old boys, Arlo, Basil and Cosmo. Their names are so cute. And she says she's using normal paper litter in their dig box and she might change it for real substrate later on. I do recommend doing that if you're able to find a substrate. Either cocoa soil or a loose lighter bedding like shredded paper or shredded cardboard would work really well. With the paper bedding and the paper litter, it is quite heavy and hard for them to dig around in, so if you can try and find a different substrate and just switch it up, switch out different substrates for them in the dig box, I think they'd really appreciate that. In the first picture I spot 2 of your boys eating some fruit off of the kebab stick. These are such a good foraging toy to use with your rats. I sell them on my store if you want one, but I love that you've got one of these in the cage for them and they seem to really like it. Another thing I really like about your cage is the fact you've attached a toilet roll on the side for them. This is great, rats love destroying toilet roll and they'll also love pulling bits off and taking it away into their hammocks and making little nests. So if you've got any spare toilet roll at the moment and you're not too short because of the pandemic, definitely try to zip tie or attach one in your cage and just see what your rats do. They will probably make a massive mess, but it's definitely worth it. But yeah, there's not too much I can say about your cage in terms of improvements. If you wanted to, you could take out that middle level of the cage and add in a couple more ropes and ladders just to give them a bit more of an active layout if you wanted to. I do really recommend taking out that middle level, only if you want to, you don't have to, but I do recommend that to give them as much of an active layout as possible. And possibly, as I said before, trying a couple of different substrates with them in their dig box. So the next cage is from Ella, I think that's your name, and she has 3 male rats in a Sabec Zeno 3. So I wanted to feature this cage in the video to show you guys an active layout in a cage that's not the traditional big metal cages. This cage is also a really good cage to use with your rats. It's a much cheaper alternative than having to buy a big metal cage, and this is a good size cage for 3 males and it's also really active too, which is good. The first thing I like about your cage is the fact you've provided them with a nice big wheel, and fingers crossed they're using it because I know how lazy boys can be, but you provide them with a nice big tic-tac wheel, and this just goes to prove that you can fit big wheels in layouts and cage layouts and provide them with a wheel that is going to be the suitable size. This is a really good example of that. But I think your cage looks really good. You've got plenty of things for them to climb on. You've got tunnels, ladders, ropes, bridges. The only thing I would suggest to add in there possibly is a couple more fall breakers just if they fall from the top. Something that's going to go mostly across the entire length of the cage. So maybe some IKEA tie holders or some longer hammocks, things like that. You could add those into the cage as well. And then I don't think I spot any foraging toys or anything, so there's a couple of foraging toys you could get for them. Either a foraging wheel, which would look really nice up on the top shelf next to the litter tray, that would look really good. Or you could get a couple of ground-based foraging toys for them. I'm sorry if you've got some that I can't see, but that would be my only real other suggestion, is get them a couple of foraging toys to keep them busy too. Aww, I just scrolled down to the last picture and your boys are really cute. I love how they're all really similar but you can still tell them apart. The next cage is sent in by Grace, who has a double coordination home to her 3 boys, Mew, Puff and Pudge. Why are all your rats so cute? They love climbing, digging, playing and cuddling. Aww. My cage has lots of layers to encourage climbing, balancing, jumping, sleeping, gnawing, digging, foraging, etc. Good. So I really like your cage just from first glance. It's really aesthetically pleasing to me. I'm not sure what it is about the cage, whether it's all of the natural items in there, but just from looking at it I do really like it, and I love the dig box you've got on the bottom too. Probably the first thing I spot when I look at your cage is the big hemp climbing net that goes all the way from one side of the cage to the other. I really like this. Not only is it good for them to climb on, but if they were to fall from the top of the cage it is going to catch them. So I really like that. That's like the best thing straight away that I see in the cage. I also really like the wooden bendy bridges you've got. I'm not too sure whether you've zip tied these to make them circular, but these are a really cool idea to attach to the side of the cage to give your rat something to sit in whilst also chewing on this, so I like these, that's really cool. So yeah, overall I think your cage looks great. I love the dig box and the wheatgrass you've got growing in there. I think that's definitely the best part of the cage. So the final cage was sent in by Lynn. I gave her 10 minutes to send this in if she wanted to, and the devil works fast but Lynn works harder because she managed to send it within the 10 minutes I gave her, so well done Lynn. But Lynn is a really nice rat breeder up in Scotland. She also has a YouTube channel and she's been making some really interesting videos recently about her routine as a rat breeder. So I'll leave those videos or her channel linked in the description if if you guys were interested in seeing a bit more about how it works being a rat breeder and how she keeps her rats. So she has many cages, but this picture in particular is of half a Liberta Explorer, I think, and she probably has a small group of rats in here, I'm not too sure, but this is the bottom half of her cage. So the main thing I like about this cage is the fact she has such a deep perspex space. This is something I wish I could have done with my boys, but my cage doesn't really have anything to hold a perspex tray below the cage itself. If you do have a cage like this that has the ability to, I really do recommend dropping that perspex down and making it as deep as possible. Your rats will really enjoy foraging and digging and bedding, and I'm sure Lynn's rats do too. She's also got the green hanging IKEA thing. We were talking about this on Twitter, the fact that we are so sad they've discontinued this and we can't get any more, but she's got that in there, which is really good. There's also some other things I like about the cage. She's got a really active layout with all of the ropes and the IKEA tie holder. She's also got a plant pot attached to the back, possibly one in the base too, I'm not quite sure, but that has holes cut out of it for the rats to get into, which is a really cool idea. And she's also got a hanging basket with some nesting material. I would love to get one of these for my cage too, and every time I see hers in her cage I really want one, so I like that too. And she's also got a really big wheel for them, which is great. The only things I would add to this if this was my cage would be a couple of foraging toys, possibly a couple more hammocks to fill some of the gaps at the back, but I understand the struggle of having a cage that's split. It's not easy to hang things to the cage above it. There's not too many things to attach it to, so I do understand the struggle of that. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this extra video and it wasn't as long as the other videos I've done featuring her cages, but I did just want to feature a couple more of the ones I did get sent before. I know in the comments people will ask when I'm going to do another one of these or do a reacting to your mouse cages, and I'm trying not to do too many of them this year because it does get a little bit repetitive. I don't want you guys to get too bored, and I do have so many other ideas for videos that I want to film, so I'm going to try not to do too many of these this year. I will do another one probably in a couple of months time. Just make sure to look out in your subscription box or on the community tab on my YouTube channel. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful if you're looking to make some changes to your rat cages. Hopefully this gave you some inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!